This is not a toothpaste. It's a revolution for your teeth. Remineralize, strengthen teeth, all natural ingredients, essential oils, minerals, salts, Alphavedic Dental Solutions System. That's alphavedic.com/civilization. You know, we're always trying to bring you the best products here that we think will enhance your life, especially if supply chains break down further, or if there's some disruption in our lives here. It seems in the news more and more possible, but hey, who knows? Maybe it's a mind game. But what is not is keeping your dental health up. And not a lot of people are talking about this. We always see the storable foods. But what about dental care during these same emergency situations? Will your toothpaste eventually run out? Well, if it does, then what? So like I say, this whole micro gut biome is driven by your oral cavity first. So take a look at what they have, alphavedic.com/civilization. Every purchase you make helps keep our live radio show and podcast on air, bringing you more information just like this. alphavedic.com/civilization. That link is in the show notes below. And as always, I appreciate your valuable time and joining us in this ever and most important conversation as we move forward in our world. Hey everyone, are you ready to grow your own fresh, delicious vegetables, herbs, and flowers this season? If you're looking for the highest quality heirloom and organic seeds, I've got the perfect company for you, True Leaf Market. They've been a trusted seed company since 1974, offering 3,000 types of non-GMO varieties, everything from classic heirloom tomatoes and peppers to rare herbs, microgreens, sprouting seeds, and beautiful flowers. All those seeds are open pollinated, pure, and perfect for home gardeners or anyone wanting healthy, flavorful produce without chemicals. What I love the most is their huge selection, fast shipping guarantees, plus options for bulk if you're going big. If you're excited to start your garden this year with real, authentic heirloom and organic seeds, click the link in the description box below to check out TrueLeafMarket.com. You won't regret it. Happy planting, and thank you for supporting the channel and this broadcast.
Please remember to sign up for our show notes. With Civilization Cycle podcast, you can learn what to expect as society resets. Agriculture, economy, tech, and history all have mappable cycles, and these cycles affect every aspect of our lives. We can navigate the chaos and thrive together with up-to-date news and information. Also, if you like the content we have here on Civilization Cycle, think about fueling the discussions and the show by buying us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Civilization Cycle. And thank you for all the support.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on this beautiful blue planet. Another week of time has spun by. What have you done this week? Can you take a tally on your week? What did you do? It's moving so fast. It's difficult to even remember what you did last week. Like during the week, do you have any highlights? What are some big things that you did? It seems that myself out here pruning the trees in preparation for springtime. I spent a whole afternoon outside just pruning, being out in the wind, in the environment itself, and I don't know, the wind was strange. It was a very like microwave-ish wind. Even though it was cool, it felt very ionic, and you'll know what I mean if you know that kind of wind. It's kind of energetic, like literally energy wind. Got something done there, but it seems that the news cycle has spun by, and I was totally on this news cycle fixed in on all the extreme weather that's going on across the planet. Now, there's some rumors here about the Mississippi River completely drying out, so we'll go to the river gauges here in a little bit. I forgot what I was going to say. Welcome, everybody. Ransom, take it over. If I already forgot, didn't have enough notes.
What's happening? Yeah, speaking of that, it's like going to be like 80 degrees here in February tomorrow. Nice
Perfect.
shorts weather. Go outside. But, I know traditionally we get slammed with the hardcore winter storm in March.
Yeah, beware too. If you think you're going to get it, if you think you're going to get a jump on planting, just like you said, beware. You're going to get one more hit. So don't be in an itchy to get the seeds in the ground, right?
Right. Yeah, don't do that. But this is a good time, like I said last week, to start cleaning up everything. Like you said, pruning, picking up debris, making sure there's no, parasite eggs out there hiding in the nooks and crannies that'll destroy your crops as soon as the weather gets warm again.
Were you the one that was asking me about how to do the bricks like they did in China, where they were farming the spaces in between the bricks? We talked about that before, didn't we?
Yeah, that was after the show last week. That's the style of farming I'm going to try to do this year to try to cut down on a lot of extra weeds and grasses and stuff.
Are you able to pull some pictures up to show us that? I
I
mean,
can look for one real quick.
yeah, because I'll explain it while he's looking here. We're just used to tilling the entire land, like everything, just all dirt, just all gets churned up. But in China, I'm sure there's other places that do it too, where the bricks came together in streets. So some of those bricks had broken for whatever reason, and the corners that had broken off left a gap there. Well, that was enough of a gap to plant seeds and grow vegetables out of that crack between where the four bricks came together. And once they realized that, then they started chipping the edges off of each brick on just one corner and then putting them together, and it always created that hole naturally. So then you plant in there, and then there's really very little weeding to do. You can direct target the water, and anything that runs off on that giant surface gets directed through the cracks down into your to garden. And if it's too much, it runs off because it's on the bricks. Now, there you go. Perfect. Now, which one were you going to do anyway? That's a perfect example right there. Because think about the amount of time that you spend doing weeding. I'm going to say a lot for me. Now, for there, you'd have to probably pre-inoculate the hole and put a bunch of compost and other types of, I don't know, carbon and different humuses. And I would use wood humus because we always got rotting wood in the forest. Something to pad that first so it's not going straight into like clay or something to plant into. So you probably, need to dig it down a fair few inches, like, a post hole digger, but something smaller so you can excavate some of that soil out and then put your nutrients in there, humuses, mosses, whatever it would be, sphagnum. If you need more acidic oil or in soils, you could throw like pine needles down there to make it a little more acidic.
Right. Well, I was just going to go with
this is the design you were looking at here, right?
Right. This is exactly what I'm going to do. I have a lot of extra bricks, rocks, all that stuff, partly because I'm in the desert, but I collect supplies too. So I have bricks from things that were tore down that I just kind of saved or snagged. But this looks like the perfect antidote to too much weeds and grass is what I have a problem with. So I basically have to do flood farming. Because I live in a very hot, dry environment. So things dry up by 9 o'clock in the morning. It's already dry. You got to go water, and then you got to keep it watered basically all day until the sun goes down because it's so hot, it's just evaporating really, really fast. So I've been doing flood farming. It's done really well with, chilies, peppers, tomatoes, squash, all of that stuff. That loves being flooded, no problem. Even corn out here, you can do that too. And you still don't get that big of corn because it still sucks up so much water and dries up so fast that you literally almost have to keep a tap open for corn here. So I've been trying to plant the blends from the different communities that I've been talking to. So it's all Native American corn that I grow, but it's a mix match of several different. I mean, lots of different kinds. It's probably even been contaminated with sweet corn because I did grow that one year, and I think it cross pollinated and. I have all those seeds, so there's no telling which ones have sweet corn. But this is like the perfect uh, you know, problem solver for me. So this gets rid of all the bugs for one thing, because you basically have to have shaded gardens here, because the soil reaches a temperature that just spawns all the eggs of all these bugs. So you get millions of bugs just pop out as soon as it gets warm, hot, and moist. And you add the water to it so you get bugs. But this prevents all the surface area except for where the stalk of the plant that you're trying to grow comes out. So, what I was going to do basically is because we have so much runoff and flooding here, it's really hard to keep topsoil from one year to the next. So I basically buy new soil every year, which kind of sucks. But if you get it in there situated like this, I have a feeling that will prevent a lot of the soil from running away when it floods, because you got all this flat surface of brick where the water will run over really fast, kind of like pavement, and hopefully attach your plants down. Well, that's the theory that I have anyway. But this will just really work out here. I mean, this seems like some great not only desert farming but urban farming where you got similar situations there and you have all this material and cracks. So I was going to lay a whole big bed of new soil with plenty of nutrients deep, 6 to 12 inches underneath that, and then just pile these bricks on in a symmetric pattern, and then go along it in the cross sections and plant all of my greens that I always have a problem with the bugs chewing it up before it even gets big enough to do anything, or it gets so hot that it bolts. And this will allow me to, micromanage each of the plants a lot easier because it's like the only thing growing, because it's the only plants that are using up the space between the cracks if you do it right.
Yeah, and I wonder if could be a cover crop for those bricks too, like the Jagulan tea vine. It's like a health tea and Jagulan. You've heard of the tea, incredible cleanser. But I'm wondering, because, if you could row crop other things, like say in a fruit orchard like we have, we tried to put down different types of perennial peanuts, flowers, this sort of thing. And it did grow to an extent, but if it got knocked out on the sunlight. So if you had that there and you had a ground cover crop going down through the bricks, that would cool what you're talking about, the heat on top of that surface that really burns a lot of stuff. If you cool all that down, then you're working with a cooler base layer, and then that vine needs the uptake of the water too.
Yeah, and it's really
Row
weird
crop
that
in the bricks, dude.
I have
Awesome.
I tried these little kid pools last year because we had so much flooding that it would drown out everything, like in half of it will wash away. So I started in these kiddie pools that you get from like the dollar store for $5, and it just held too much water last year, so it smothered everything. And if you put it in the sun, it would completely bake out and everything would die. So it didn't like the shade, it didn't like the sun. But ironically, since we've had somewhat of a mild, most of the days this winter so far have been mild, except for a couple of extreme examples when it got really cold. But besides that, all of the excess lettuce, cilantro, all that kind of stuff that grows okay in the winter just popped up, and I got all kinds of food out there that I didn't even plan on having, which kind of made up. It's starting to get big now, which is really cool. It's funny because I have a feeling we're going to get some really extreme weather come through again. I know there's been a lot for the rest of the country, but right down here in our little bubble in the Southwest on this side of the Rockies, we always get a break from too much
Yeah,
of the
and the heat
extreme.
is coming as well.
Yep.
This is Jagulan tea. It's a super crazy health tea. If you think there's like green tea is good, this is like,
Right.
look at the research yourself. But this is a ground cover crop, or you can grow it on trellises. You can grow it anyway. It's a very versatile thing. And I learned about this when I was traveling in Asia. It's the only reason I knew this plant right here. It grows on the ground a lot. If it can't find anything to climb up, it will grow. Like if you just have a grass lawn, you have like what was that the blob that covers everything. Not as bad as kudzu, but this stuff will grow all over everything.
Did you see that thing on the internet with the extra moisture causing the sheep to grow grass in their coats?
That's hard to believe, but I know that sometimes
Chia.
if there's too much rain, it'll sprout on the heads of the wheat. But I never heard moss growing on a goat because there's too
No,
much moisture on the sheep. So that's
no, it was just straight grass. They had so many grass seeds in their wool
chia
that it
pet.
sprouted. Yeah, that's what
Chia.
I posted that on X, and I put that exact thing, chia, because it was just like,
Everybody remembers that.
But with all seriousness, with that chia idea,
You don't know
uh,
chia pets. Who doesn't
you
know chia
you
pets?
can spray edible food, kind of like that, and stick it on a board and spray it, and you can kind of get a chia pet type thing with edible food growing.
What was the first one you remember? Like the chia pet? I don't remember it looking like that. These monstrosities. What
Yeah,
the
I think
hell?
that was it right there. But hey, look at
Was it
that.
really?
There's
The
an Alf
original one,
one
right?
there. Might have to
That's
give
a
me that one.
dog, I don't remember it. Are we having one of those moments where history we both remember is different than from what we grew up? Because I don't remember being like that. It was
I,
something
I thought
different.
that's the sheep. Is that the dog? Yeah, I remember a sheep. That's what I
Yeah,
remember.
right.
That's why
Me
I thought of
too. See, now we're thinking because this is a dog head. I want to see the original chia pet. I bet you have to put original in here.
I am Groot.
Original chia pet, the new upgraded.
Kidding.
What? Give me your upgraded chia pet. I want the well, you
Oh,
can
nice. Is
basically
that
I can
Willie?
say, yeah, that's it. That's all we get. That's the chia
Willie
pet.
Nelson, man. You could just grow his hair out
Billy
there.
Nelson pet.
That-
Here you go. Okay, so this is what it's supposed to be when you're growing this thing out. You put the whatever kind of legume sprouts that you're thinking about here on there. And you
right.
see how it has those little grooves that catches all that. So in the how many chia pets have you raised, Ransom?
I remember getting it probably 3 when I was probably 11 or 12. I remember doing that and thinking that was really cool, and then I forgot about it and it died.
Oh,
Poor
well,
pet. It died.
chide. No, now it's in India. It's tea.
Right.
If you dried that out, yeah, that would have been like a dried tea. You could have had tea. Chai.
No, but this is a idea that I actually see a lot. You see those commercials for the spray grass, and they show you how good it sticks and all of that.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Why can't they convert that technology over to an edible something that grows? Either for livestock or for humans. I mean, think about it. There's the Wolfman. Damn, even Mr. T had a chia pet.
Yeah,
Man,
what was
come
that?
on.
Bob Ross, dude. And there's a happy little river over here.
Got ya. Alf.
Here's the original chia pet.
There it is. That's the one I had
Give it,
right there.
yeah, bring it up. See, that's crazy. It took me, you had to go down how many pictures to see the original chia
Yeah,
pet?
see, I was 11 years old right there, 1988.
Now, see, as a researcher, and I would consider ourselves looking for research during these stories here. Now, just to go on the net and actually look for this information, like what did the original chia pet look like? That should have been the first thing, top left, first result, because I put
Right.
original chia pet. That thing should have been smart enough to say, all right, this is the one that first started back in the 1980s. That picture up here. You got to go down 5, 6, 7 lines to find the original one. See, something's totally broken in the search engines.
Well, there's sales algorithms tied up with the AI search. That's
Well, I
why.
never said I wanted to buy a chia pet. So how did they put it in the research, man?
Watch, check your phone a little while. It'll be advertising on there just because you
Advertising
talked
it.
about it. I'm telling you, that happens. And it's not a conspiracy theory. The companies admitted to doing it. Google all of them. They've been doing it. They listen to you. They find out key phrases in there, like dog food or cat food, or maybe in this case, chia pet. And then they make sure that runs through either your television, phone, or tablet's algorithm to make sure you get pop-up ads or ads in the things that you watch that are related to your own personal wants and needs. Isn't that wonderful?
Well, I propose a test for everybody here, please. Pop quiz. Here we go. Everybody that's listening tonight, please say something about chia pet be a great gift. I want to see a chia pet. And then next week, please report back to us. in the
Yeah,
chat here
that's
in
great. That's a great
the
idea.
adapt. Yeah, over what chat would you use? Rumble.
Yeah, Rumble or YouTube, either one.
Yeah,
I mean,
YouTube at the Civilization Cycle channel. That's running.
we get the
Leave a
feed
leave a
in
comment in
here.
either like YouTube or whatnot, or there in Rumble, and see if we all started to say Chia Pet tonight, and then how many would report back that yeah, I had Chia Pet ads the following week. We could see the total number of people. And even if
Uh,
you didn't get a Chia Pet ad, write in and go, I didn't get a Chia Pet ad, and versus the ones who did and go +1 or something, and then we can add it up.
this is funny too, is, somebody
Our own
said
experiment.
there's a Chia Cosby in there, but you gotta be careful with that one. If you go up and sniff it too close, you might pass out.
Was that? I thought that was Chia Pet for that, my friend.
Uh,
Yeah, the Chia Pet, cha. And yeah,
oh,
there
wow.
that sticky grass, I don't know, that stuff they spray on. See, there's a hedgehog one too. That's terrible. Come on.
Yeah,
I'm gonna stop sharing because I can't look at the Chia Pets any longer. You're driving my brain crazy.
anyway. Yeah, this week was a big week. It was, quite interesting. I mean, there's like a total media blackout basically from Mexico for several days. I've been going through that like a needle in the haystack, and what's horrible is it's very hard to find and verify video that came from now. They regurgitate old footage of things happening, and then they say that it's happening now. Some of people are out there creating fake AIs, and of course, you're not going to get the straight answer from either government about what's happening. But from my sources deep within Mexico, um, there's soon to be a civil war. I mean, it's headed that way, and there's really no way around it. So the government's going to have to choose to take care of its problem, or world powers are going to say that they have the excuse to solve it for them. And even though that we all know that there's been lots of different parties tied up in the creation of our scenario now, it's all manufactured. It's like they know that the public has a very short memory, so you'll forget things really fast and furiously, and not understand what's going on in the world. I don't want to get too woohoo, but
Oh,
I
wait,
did
could I
this.
say something real quick about
Yeah,
that?
go
That's
for
not
it.
an individual event. That is stretching back. Everything is intertwined that's coming forward from even back when the Prussians were around. This is not like a single event that's occurring in time right now. That is
Right.
intertwined from the entities that started that 150, 100, 200 years ago and still moving forward, just changing hands,
Yeah.
changing the way that their standard operations are moving, or is the status quo.
Right.
It just moves through time. So the same things you're thinking are events happening, perhaps they were planned decades back,
I
further even.
Oh
You
yeah.
got to think, what if they had 100 or 200 100-year plan? And this is actually part of that 100-year plan that everybody's taken the reins to make it come to fruition within that time frame of 100 years. Then they have another 100-year plan after that.
Well, it's not like it's a conspiracy theory. I mean,
No, it's not. It's just
you
it's
can go
just
look at the conspirators. They're there. The World Economic Forum, Davos, Trilateral Commission. How far do you want to go back? Which organization do you want to look at? Read
1400s, probably Venetian
material.
money.
Yeah.
1400s Venetian money.
Then you got, we're in the project for a new American century right now. I mean, if you just go back and read those 90s think tank stuff, early 2000, probably up to about 2003, you'll see the whole plan unfold. But like you said, they're just continuations of previous plans planned by the planners. Uh,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? You can go back and, like I
and that was
said, there's one.
planned.
They got the NDAA, and then you look at those each year, and then they all have little projects that they're referring to, and then you go look at those projects, and they're quite older. You got Night Train 84 and Rex 84 and Garden Plot, and then it just keeps on going. Those projects morph into other projects. They hope you forget about it, because then you might see patterns on the nightly news.
Well, only the patterns you're supposed to recognize as patterns. Because those of you who see patterns with all these disconnected dots that create a wider tapestry, you're considered a conspiracy theorist. Versus laid out on a perfect plate that's all you can consume, this steak and this mashed potato, that is it. They're giving it to you on a platter, but everything else that you really look around for the news in itself. And again, why I saw if I might, Ransom, there is an article that said they found a proto language that was approximately 40,000 years ago.
Give me a second.
And
I got it.
wait, well, hold on a second. And then we talked about the pyramids, where they wanted us to redate the pyramids to something like 18,000 years prior, and that was just a little while. That was a month or so ago as well. Now they're
Right.
saying we got a proto language at 40,000 years. So what is this? And then everywhere we're looking across, they're talking about rewriting history. Take a look. Oh, things are way further back. So I don't know what the reasoning that is as well. Like, why are they suddenly saying, you know what, there were civilizations far back in the past. Those last 8,000 years we were telling you about, that's only like a fraction of it. We got the other times four of that going back, or times five, 40,000 years. Yeah, we found it, or they something to recreate it. Like, we've been here, there's been civilizations marching through time like that, set back by cataclysms. And then suddenly there's a breakthrough right there. That's exactly the one. You must have been, yeah. Here, can
Yeah,
I
I
go?
already had it
Can I make a
open
small? Yeah, that's the
because,
thing.
well, this was basically known already.
But why
This
now is the question. Why do they keep throwing all these big, very complex? Hey, this goes way back. Symbols, proto languages, way hella back to 40,000 years, and then the pyramids too, way back. We got the dates for the construction of the pyramids wrong. Like, really? That was the bedrock of all geology and all archaeology. Was, where were the stones mined? How did they get them there? What kind? You know,
Well, I was talking about that with some
it's
people
all
the other
wrong.
day, about how all of these Neolithic sites, they don't seem to have writing associated with them. However, that's because we've always been assuming that the writing will be in some kind of form that we recognize. Now, here in the Southwest, there is a long history of rebellions against not only the Mayans, the Aztec, and later the Spanish, from the Four Corners Indians, because they had a type of not really written language, but what equates to a written language in the not only the form of petroglyphs, where anybody could walk by and see it, but they also had a secret language with leather strips where they would tie knots on it and spread those out amongst them people. And then people would know that, if they untied a knot every day, that certain events would happen on a specific knot. And that's how they actually outsmarted the Spanish and kicked them out of this area of New Mexico at least 4 different times and totally made them leave. Later, the U.S. government was the next faction to come along. A lot of people say it was Mexico, but people forget that the whole purchase that got us the Southwest happened only 27 years after Mexico was a country. So you could have been born in New Mexico, been a Spanish citizen, grew to the age of 30, and you'd have been a U.S. citizen. And in that time, you'd have been Mexican for 27 years, but then you're an American. So somebody 30 years old could have lived in the same spot, not moved, and became, a citizen of 3 different empires, basically. And
Oh, I wonder what kind of passport stack they would have traveling around.
right, well, they didn't
Stop
care
you in the
about that
airport.
back
You got
then.
3 passports, bro.
But my
Stop you,
point
man.
is that there was other forms of equal language that not necessarily is written. Like right here, you could put meaning on the amount of notches that gives meaning to an idea or word. Like, we have no idea what this says, but the people that were using it and doing things with it, they knew what it meant. So it may be that the only reason that we thought that we invented writing is because we have the most basic remedial type of communication that came along last. Which, if you look at this, it's not a stretch to realize why cuneiform was such a good language too, because you just get a stick with a certain shape on it, and you keep putting different patterns of that shape into the clay, bake those, and you have books right away. And everybody thought, hey, this is so weird. The Sumerians just show up. They got schools. They have beer. They have domestication. They have laws. They have writing. They have property rights and all kinds of stuff. And it just showed up. Well, of course, it didn't show up. That's a later civilization. And each one of these civilizations recuperating from some type of cataclysm would only have a little bit of portion of things that went to the next level. And then, of course, groups of people would accumulate that knowledge and keep it secret from the other people, because knowledge is power. And it wasn't till around the time of King Hammurabi that the idea to make the public also know what the laws and secret things were even came back around in human civilization, as far as we know.
Could you zoom in on that crack for me right there between where the different striations or cut marks and nicks, whatever you like to call that? Because I was listening while I was working on my garage. I framed in a wall. So I went out on the farm here from zero woodworking to framing a wall by myself. Well, I mean, I had, people come over and hold a piece of wood or whatever, but did it all myself. And it looks pretty good. Measurements are very, very tight. But while I was doing that, I was listening to this podcast. It was about maybe 40 minutes long about the way they used to do debt before was without paper. It was on sticks like this. And then the debtor they would actually break the stick because no two sticks are the same and they have to connect. And it's very much like your fingerprint. There's no two that are the same. The stick, they put the number of notches, what type of wood. I mean, it would be super difficult to fake that. And then what they do is they break the wood and each person gets it. So the person who gets the longest part of the stick, that's where our word stock comes, or like stock market sticks, because
Right.
they're the ones who were lending out something that owned assets. The person who got the short end of the stick, which we have that colloquialism today, short end of the stick, that's the debtor. So they're
Right.
always going to be paying back. So they have the short end of the stick. And when those two come together, you have the choice to keep them for record to show that debts were paid, or you have a chance to burn them like they did. And they burned so many at the same time. I forget which building, one of the Parliament buildings, but it was in England. And they burned so many in one day, and something happened with the chimney with the copper inside, whatever, and it melted and it caught the whole building, and all the records burned
Yeah.
conveniently. After every money stick in England had been collected into the same place. There were no more money sticks out in the wild.
Yeah. They burned the contracts.
Yeah, all of them. Yeah, at the same time, but it created such a ferocious fire, and they kept pushing them, burn more, that the chimney couldn't hold that type of heat for such a long period of time, and it caught the actual building on fire because it went up through the flue. And because the building burnt down, that's where all the records were kept of these sticks that were all in the warehouse. That burned down too, because they were burning so many of those to get rid of the entire supply of the sticks across the country.
You see this zodiac right up in the right corner of this picture?
I do.
Yeah. 40,000 years. Or I mean, I don't know. Is that object, is that what they're saying is that long, or what are the other ones? But either way, if it's super old, that's a symbol that you find everywhere still today. I
Yeah, I
mean,
think I had one like that too. If I could find it, maybe here. I've been doing a lot of research these last few days, just trying to figure out where this reality on this plane right here in this microverse that we're in, and where is it moving to next,
wrong button.
And I can't find it exactly, but I mean, maybe I will in a minute here.
I
So
could show you 1,001 petroglyphs just like that, plus the zodiac. It's the asterisk. I was talking about this actually before about the whole space. This is that symbol right there. This is the symbol. One of the oldest symbols that I've ever discovered in things is this zodiacal circle with the cross in it. Sometimes it has more lines that makes it an asterisk, but it seems like these geometric shapes are unfolding knowledge of sacred geometry because of equal proportions. When people figure that out, they started building things and doing all this stuff, but it's way more complicated than that. And it obviously stretches back. And it's funny to me that people are saying, hey, oh, wow, there was language this long ago. And maybe people were here a long time in the Americas before they were. And then I'm sending these articles because even people that are educated are slow to the uptick of new revelations in anthropology and other discoveries. Just like I know that the first cart ever discovered now are people using a cart, which was basically just a big log that they tied a bunch of their stuff on and dragged it, is found right out here at White Sands, dated probably about 23 to 25,000 years ago. That's 10,000 years older than they were, estimating that people came through this ice-free, corridor from the Bering Strait. And then in South America, you got 30,000-year-old sloth bones with carvings on it. So we know people were here that far back. And to try to tell someone that they didn't have any kind of real language or written language or something equivalent to that to circumnavigate the entire planet in prehistory is absurd.
yeah, it absolutely is. And that's one whole great year around. So they would have experienced multiple cataclysms around that cycle. These come at intervals anyway. And let me share this one with you because you triggered me on a thought. I wanted to talk about this anyway tonight. And this is the way the calendar has been structured. So they say, going back to the months, the Gregorian calendar, like the one you hang on your wall every day and you schedule everything by, the months are incredibly chaotic. You know, children have to learn rhymes to remember. 31 days, 28 days, 29. February shrinks and grows. And then there's some 30-day months and 31-day months. It was never like that.
Right.
That
Yeah.
was the
Count
whole
your
thing
knuckles.
here. Before, the previous calendar was exactly like this.
You know,
13 months of 28 days each. And that goes into 364 days, 52 weeks, perfect 7-day cycles like the human. That, why do you think, if you look in the Bible, it tells you rest on Sunday.
right.
So think about the 7-day cycles and how human domain and human perception and vibration works in that cycle. But if you can keep the very base of everything, just the calendar days off, that kicks off everything that humanity was in tune with. And this is the thing that when it come into 29-day, or was it not leap time, but daylight savings time, then it throws your whole body off again because you got a different time within the offset calendar that's already upsetting the natural rhythm and balance of the human body on 28 days. Imagine if every day 28/7, every Friday, Saturday, every Sunday, you're going back every Monday to
Mini
that
moon.
throws everything off because it's not a consistent rhythm. It's like, it's jarring. And
Right.
then inside that, you throw the daylight savings time up and down in an hour, and all these people having crazy things happen every time we switch a 1 hour, just one. But that
I
throws that off discombobulated. And it's very important, I think. I mean, could you live on this calendar without having to adhere to the other one? And every calendar that you exist on, you change to 28 days. And you make your own calendars around your place. And when you book in on something or you have a date, an appointment, it's on that calendar with 28 days. You'd have to do some conversion of it, but it'd be really interesting to try to live off of that calendar system back to the old way, but just know how it integrates with the modern calendar, just so you could do appointments only and that's it.
well,
Is that too much to ask of the pre-Roman Britain, Lakota, Egyptians? I don't know.
no, that's what I was going to say. Most of all of the ancient world was on a 28-day calendar because they followed the cycles of the moon. And
Synodic lunar cycle.
every 28 days you get a full moon. I mean, so if you paid attention to that cycle and didn't even pay attention to the dates, you'd be set exactly with nature every month, forever. But not only that, it's also the female cycle as well that gives us fertility and new children and things are set on this same natural cycle. And actually, a lot of people argue because experiments have been done, whenever you take someone out of their circadian rhythm and don't give them any input. There's been people that done in caves. They've done space experiments, seclusion experiments, different ones. But no matter what, we always go back to a 26-hour circadian rhythm, which doesn't appear on Earth for some reason, but it does appear on Mars. That's the day cycle on Mars is 26 hours. And it's pretty, bizarre that's the case. So there's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense. But speaking of that,
Well, wait, Ransom, could I throw that to you there? Do you see the highlighted in blue? We have months named after Roman emperors: July for Julius Caesar, August for Augustus.
yes,
Like,
that's
that just makes no sense. You're just like stealing months and just throwing names to, what do we call Davidicus or something?
well, you got to pay.
David. Where's the month David? Oh, June, July, David.
We still
Give me
we
my
still
own
have
month.
we still have clues though to the old calendar. I mean, you still have the months that are named after the numbers. You have December, which should be 10 but is 12. You got October, that's 9 or 8, excuse
Oh,
me, but
yeah, 8.
we don't have it on that. So they messed up the whole calendar. I mean, you can just see from the months that are still named after the numbers that they're in the wrong position. And it's weird that if you really get into this stuff, you start unwrapping and unraveling all of the sayings that are in your languages and different languages. Just think about this. So Set had 12 steps to get across the sky. And it literally is where we get stuff like the 12-step program. It's the 12 steps of Set, a higher power. You look at the horizon because Horus is rising. It's a sunset because of Set setting. You know what I mean? So they hide all of this stuff in there. Even Passover, the name of Passover holiday is literally what it is, what it sounds like. The sun is passing over directly overhead in the northern hemisphere. These were all things that they had to keep track of for farming purposes, and they had other events. But this seems to go back all the way back, at least past Stonehenge, where they were on a 28-day cycle. And
Yeah, I see
even
the
there,
56 pits there, 28 station lunar calendar on 56 pits, 2 rotations.
right. And then, go back to the language thing. We're talking about these people in the
Yeah,
Americas,
go on. That's a
uh,
pretty cool photo there, that language photo.
and they have those symbols that we recognize, like the zodiac, and it's
Yeah.
on there before 26,000 years. So we know that they were already aware of the precession of the equinox that far back, because what is that? It's also the Yuga cycle, right? It's that same uh, cross, and like an iron cross, and you got your catastrophes every so often on it. They were all aware of this, and this, you can kind of time things in history and when people split based on the technology they had. So we know a lot of the people, including Europeans, Native Americans, and a good portion of Asians, came from this area around Mongolia. That's now, actually, it's more like southern Russia next to Mongolia, but everybody's DNA tracks back to that area. And that's the same area that people rode out of with horses and carts. And you can tell in one direction they brought the wheel. And then you go into the other direction of Native Americans. They definitely left before the bow was invented, because they showed up with the bow. They showed up with the, other technologies, but they didn't have the wheel and they weren't riding the horse, despite having access to horses whenever they crossed through Siberia. And it's weird, and this is what throws everybody for a loop, because you're looking at these sophisticated civilizations in the Americas specifically that are building things and complex mathematics, an extraordinary, idea and understanding of the cosmos above them. And then here comes the Aztec bearing giant Clovis weapons with addles from, the early Stone Age. Where did they come from? How did they show up with this old technology? It's just bizarre. And you look around the world and you see the same thing, but what you also see is a form of written language in the form of iconography that you find everywhere with every civilization all over. As a matter of fact, a couple of weeks ago, I brought that up about the step pyramid. I contacted the guy that wrote the article. I gave him some photos and showed him that that's a common theme in the Southwest, and he wrote a new article. So now I'm the citizen journalist. I appreciate the credit there, buddy.
Mark it down, Wikipedia. You got it. So here's your time dates talking about the Yuga cycles. So if we go and, when you're talking about quartering that out, if you're talking about an entire cycle occurring twice, then this will kind of be right at that 15,000 year mark.
Right.
So go around one whole entire circle. So 11,500 BC, or 11,500 plus 2,000 is where we sit, and complete the rest of the circle. Maybe go back to 500 AD. So that'd be 12,000. Yeah, 24,000 is what they have on the full circle on this one.
Right.
Because ours
So
is
that's like a whole
11,500 minus plus 213, and then you got to subtract the 500 out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
24,000. Final answer. Is that right? Going around twice, all the way from the bottom back up to the top again on the left side.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Almost 12,000 on that.
Yeah, right. So that's nearly a cycle. So you're looking at it from the, so they're following around on the same thing. On that Yuga cycle is the great year cycle, but it seems a little bit different, but a little more defined. I can't explain exactly, but I just have seen this in different drawings as well. And I've been to India a couple of times. I understood what this whole, that's why I keep talking about the rising frequency and vibration. We were in the Kali Yuga, which is the darkest, densest iron age that was possible. It's like the lowest vibration a human can take is the lowest it could have possibly ever go. At that point, you, I guess, like, can't exist in the frequency field if you go any lower. That's the Kali Yuga. It's the darkest, densest steel, like heaviness. But we're coming out of that. Sarah says present. Now we're going into the Dwapara Yuga, rising. So every single day is getting a little more. This is why magnetic field changes, I think, has something to do with it. a lot more different galactic cosmic rays coming. It's like an energetic thing as we're coming up around the backside. Like this system holding everything in place right now that has been here for 80, 100, 150 years, that whole thing, that's dissolving in front of us because it just can't hold state in the new rising energy. It's that Kali, it's the dark, heavy, black soup, tar energy, and we're moving faster and it can't really chase us like the great white shark coming to try to grab your leg as we're ascending out of this soup that we've been in. That's why people are seeing that as something different. They sense something's different. They just know there's a change here.
Right.
That's it right there in a nutshell, energetically. And the cosmic rays and the weakening magnetic field all drive into this. This weakening magnetic field is not something that happens every Thursday. It's like 40,000 years ago, these things are occurring. Well, I should say every 12,000 years. 36,000 for the Longchamp excursion. Was that right?
Yeah. And then,
Was that 42?
that's 42,000. But I was going to say there's that language right after this event that would have been catastrophic anywhere you lived on the planet. You would have known that things changed at that time.
Mm-hmm. Now, the Satya Yuga, that's is where humanity is supposed to be able, I wouldn't say manifest instantly, but at that point, you're so connected energetically through the frequency of your minds that there's a civilization that works in total harmony where like we couldn't even understand it. It's so different than today. It is literally a 180-degree polar opposite of what we have, where it's really even hard to envision or put it in words. Like there's supposed to be telepathy at this time, and there's more. I shouldn't say, like I say, you snap like a magician, instant manifestation, but the possibilities to create things and make them manifest is exponentially faster than we can possibly do it today. And that is the highest vibration that a human can attain. Like if you go beyond that, you actually lose your physical body where you'll get off into the dimensional realms. That's as high as you can vibrate as a human. Using every known trick of every yogi to like enlighten yourself up, and that's probably like a low baseline for them. And then we come back down to what we just experienced through the Roman era, especially through the whole British, Spanish thing in the 1400s that was nasty. And that's the dark depths of the Kali Yuga, was that whole destruction of Central and South America. Conquistadors, it was that time. That is the bottom of the Kali Yuga. And you can maybe even go back earlier a little bit when it was coming out of the Dwapara and it was like lessening energy. It's like suddenly the church was able to grab hold, and you start to see some of these big institutions that were able to get power as humanity was depowering and decreasing in energetic electrical output. And now we're coming back up again, and they can't hold state. So I think this only happens, this kind of darkness that we've been experiencing for the last, couple of 100 years, 1,000, let's say. What we know is like this whole behemoth that works behind the scenes for the last 200 years. That's in there. Add a couple 300 more years, and you're down in the very depths of that. And that's what I'm talking about. Just the brutalism and barbarism that occurred in the name of God. And it's just like sickening to think that they would use the creator to go facilitate that under sort of pretext bullshit something. Right. That could only occur in the Iron Age. It couldn't occur in the Bronze, in the Dwapara, or Tatra, or the Satya Yugas. No, it can't. It's only one time that this darkness can grab onto humanity around the entire circle. The entire circle, only one time for these, 1,000+ years. Tell me that we're rising out of it.
Well, I think it's ironic that, with not that much intellect, you could figure out that all of these people were on the same trip. You have the Knights Templars and their Iron Cross, and I can't find it, but someone has created a Yuga cycle that has the Iron Cross in the middle, and you can kind of see it
Randall
with this
Carlson's. Randall Carlson did that one. It's
this
something cross, yeah.
And it's the same as some of the medicine wheels here. But when you go back to that, let me see. Here it is, right here. This is petroglyph. It has the Iron Cross. That's the Yuga cycle right there. And here is basically the zodiac that we were talking about. Here it is again on another rock in a different style. You got it right here and right here. even at an angle. But this is that exact symbol that they're saying is 40,000 years old on that thing there. It's the same symbol. We can find it again. Anyway, yeah. So
Yeah,
it
that
shows
is.
that
No, I
they're
was looking for the galactic cross. Like Randall Carlson has this one where they calls it the crossing of the galactic cross, and it's very much it's that same symbol, but with rotations in it to show you where when the Earth and our solar system pass through certain points that it triggers something. I'm going to say more cosmic rays and a depleting magnetic field that drives everything else, and it gets to some type of upheaval point where there could be electrical discharge and that sort of thing, and that's where it goes. And it only happens occasionally at these crossing points, and you really wonder, is that some sort of like realignment with the galactic core, and suddenly the north-south orientation really locks in super tight and it disrupts everything that was loose and it snaps shut, something like this.
well. Here's the
After the it gets floaty for those several thousand years, and then it snaps shut again, and that snap is we're not used to
Here,
that.
let me show you this. And this tells you, like, from prehistory, what I was just showing you. It's all the same symbol there up until they started putting on petroglyphs. It's in artwork all over the world. You find that cross, the zodiac, whatever you want to call it, asterisk. And here's this cool thing: as I was on Google right here, looking for some property, because back in 2014 I was a multimillionaire, and I was looking for property. And this place caught my eye right here. It's called the Fox Ranch, if you get it. But check this out. So Google has this cool thing where you can go back and look at old satellite photos. So there's this house right here that's 2014, and then the next year they build this cool zodiac outside right here, and it's that esoteric cross and everything, and he's got it out there. The guy that owned the Fox Ranch at the time there, but it's weird because here in 2019, here it is completed, and they've got it all cleaned up and stuff on this property, really remote out in the middle of nowhere. But this guy got arrested. You might have heard about it on the news, but anyway,
Einstein.
yeah, Einstein. That's right. See, these elite are all into these symbols too. But check this out. After he got arrested, somebody felt the need to do a lot of construction and just tear up that whole thing there. It's totally gone. And then you can,
That's really
yeah, it gets a
strange.
little weird. I mean,
No, that is weird. No, you're telling me that.
well, it's cool because Google lets you slide through these satellites.
Yeah, I know, they let you go back
Boom.
in time view,
And then,
yeah.
well, they're just now getting around to going to look to that place to find stuff. So I just thought that was interesting. I only brought,
They were able to get away with that? Like, go bulldoze an entire area completely flat to the ground, they were able to get away with that? How is that even
well, not
possible?
only did they do that,
You can't tell me that's real, that's gotta be a doctored photo, man. No, that's impossible they could do that. Literally, in my mind, of such a high profile case that they could get in there and bulldoze that flat.
yeah.
No, that's
And
crazy.
what's funny is because
Look what they took out of it. Look where the circle was originally before they built that. Yeah, okay, so look at the depression now, take it back before that was built, back when it was trees, go backward in time. Yeah, look at there was some sort of depression right there anyway already.
yeah, and what's cool is somebody got in a real hurry right here. Let me get it on there.
That's where they dug that and put that in there was where that
So
deposit
back in
was, yeah.
2016, this
Gold mining, because that whole deposit could have been cleaned out for gold. Because look, it
you
looks
see
like
all these
some sort of
boulders?
rut of,
See all these boulders that came out? If you know about digging out here, you got to dig to get these boulders out. So um, they didn't have it here. There's no boulders. Then they have this, and you can tell
but that black sand at the bottom there looks telling.
that this was green and really nice, and they did some construction at least before 2016, and it got all cleaned up, and it looked like this. No boulders, but not only that, there's a road that they added, a bunch of roads that didn't exist on those older maps either. And if you really want to realize how remote this really is,
Yeah, where'd the roads go to? Oh, hey, can you zoom in on that mountain range right there where one of those roads led right to that mountain
yeah,
range?
this,
Yeah, and then you gotta go through a pass. It's very similar to where I live. I'm in a valley where you have to go through a pass like that to get out
yeah. So
here.
this is a step down in elevation too here. And this is
Mm.
really private stuff where they lived. But yeah, for some reason, after he got arrested, they sold.
Can you follow the road out? Can you follow the road to the mountain range, please? I just wanna see where the road goes and, like, Which part of the mountain it touches into?
It goes all the way out here.
Yeah, it's going another a couple washes right there. Damn, I wonder what kinda, like, you could
One of them goes out here to a private airfield.
do some sort of panning. You got any gold out there?
Ah,
Just asking for a friend. Just asking
I
for a
heard some
friend.
people had some gold teeth out there.
Gold teeth.
But yeah, it is strange that the guy got arrested. They sold the property. Then this happened. It doesn't look like this anymore. There's now buildings there. So
How far can you go back in time on that before, like, notice where the building is now, we know what that is, but keep going back. I wonder why they chose that site. Like, what was naturally
here's,
there? Was it a
here's
spring?
back in
Was it some sort of something, rocks or something that was there that they got, "I gotta build on top of
here's
here."
back in
Like, how far does that go back in time?
2005, 1997. Ironically,
It's still
hey,
there.
check it out. You see this big circle right here? There was there. Guess what happened back in 1997?
Tell
He
me.
got arrested the first time.
No, you're kidding. How are these people able to even be around in public,
I
man?
don't know.
Like, the letter of the law that we think, they would have been tossed away under the damn jail, you
Well,
know?
you know what else happened besides this construction out here at the Fox Ranch? You know how the English used to chase foxes? They'd set up
Yeah.
ranches. So, like, if you have a ranch that's named the Fox Ranch, and you got all kinds of weird esoteric stuff, I don't know. So probably some weird hunting going on out there. That's just my guess, you know. But yeah,
Yeah, can you keep going back in time again? I
no.
would really would like to see
Once you
the
get
natural
to
spot.
85, it's not. There's not enough resolution to actually see what's there. So it wasn't
Oh,
until
okay, 'cause I'm wondering what
1997.
natural feature they've chosen natural feature. It could have been some sort of portal out of there. It could have been some sort of ley line crossing, sometime from you could see more plants growing along the ley lines there because 'cause they're more energetic, or some sort of subsurface like soil, or maybe just cracking from an earthquake and there's more water in that small crack area where more trees will grow. Something energetic there that I'm wondering why they put their structure right there when they're so into
Well, if
energy and so into
Oh,
ceremony
you're
and so
right. They were really into energy because supposedly this was where everybody met up from Los Alamos Labs to have their private parties right here and talk about the future of, AI, genetic, sciences, and all kinds of stuff out here. Particle weapons, all of the same guys you might know of in the scientific world. They visited out here. Even governors, like Bill Richardson, and even the one that's running for governor in our state now used to hang out over here. But just forget about that. That's all weird. But what I was going to bring up is if you go in the future here, go back towards the future here to about 2019 before it's messed up. A certain somebody starts having problems. So two things happen. This property gets destroyed, and a lot of construction work, but also out there, in the Caribbean, I'll say, uh, there was, what was it, 70 55-gallon drums of sulfuric acid delivered there, for their water salinization and cleaning the pool and whatever needs you have there.
St. Croix best, man. Of course they'd be using that, but look at that. Why I'm wondering what's under that because that looks like a structure that's just buried for me. Like, you can clearly see
Yeah,
the
I don't think there's nothing under
foundational
it now.
outlines of that. So there's something under that. It looks flat. It's huge, huge, huge under there. Like, compared to the size of the house, that square area looks like a building disguised as a garden on top of it. But look at the size of it. It's at least the size of that house.
Right. It-
And it's underground. And you notice it's downhill. So they could have just carved out that hill and built that thing. And they didn't have to excavate the entire, straight down. They could have just chopped off part
oh,
of a
here's a
hillside.
3D view of it. Here, let's go back up to modern times here, though.
Yeah. Can you spin around 360? I'm curious on the view on
And
this one.
weirdly,
Going down in those gullies
you
looks
want to see
kind of
something?
interesting. Got your rattlesnakes
This is
there.
really cool too. Look at the square where that's at, right? And I'm going to scroll through the years here. And for some reason, the imagery on that spot doesn't really change with every map. You see?
Yeah, because it's a building that's underground.
No, I mean, like if I go to 2016, all the surrounding imagery changes, but not that square. And then again, 2017 doesn't change. See? Then all of a sudden it changes. Boom. 2019, it's there. And then it says this is 2020, and then 2023. It's just gone. And you're right.
It's crazy how they bulldoze that. That's like There's a building under there. It really looks like it's a foundation. It's just covered with topsoil, enough to like do a garden without collapsing in. You'd have to have extra reinforcement under the roof to put that much soil weight on it, along with it being wet so the plants could grow.
And you can see this whole compound,
It looks like concrete
it's on
floor.
the top. So you see what I mean? It's on a hill, on the very plateau of a hill. And I don't know.
Or if there's mines under the house where it went under there, because that's a mining area, is it
Oh,
not?
yeah, they mine all kinds of stuff here. But what it's more known for is being
Old-time mines, like shafts, like going
mostly
down.
military land out here.
It looks like an old sea coastline right there. If you can zoom back in, please, just a little bit. Yeah, we're stop
You
there.
talking about this
Go
weird
south.
wall here that's natural?
Yeah, well, if you go south a little bit, right there, it looks like a coastline. Right there, you're at a coast. You're at little bays. It looked like that was full of water at some point, and I wonder what the depth of the lake would have been.
Well, this is a giant lava flow here too. See, here's a old school volcano over here.
Yeah, so Sasquatch living up in there for sure.
Yeah, and this is really just north of me. See, I live right.
Oh, that's really remote, and that's a lot of land up there. Damn.
Yeah.
You could have a couple bipedals up in there for sure.
Anyway, we should move on. Did you know that the government is trying to put rules on three-dimensional?
Got a lot of talk about the forbidden species.
The forbidden species, yeah. Yeah, they don't want us 3D printing stuff, man.
They don't. We're going to talk about that when we come back from the break. Thank you for staying with us. We're just kind of trying to have some fun tonight, running through a little bit of news. Nothing
very important symbol there.
Too serious, but you can see how ancient history and modern history are blending together. Obviously, something's changing. We got these energetic feelings of everybody changing. The weather's changing. Prices are changing. Our world's changing. Everything's changing, and people are feeling it. It's just at that point right now. So, I mean, you might look at these individual points and go, "Oh, those are totally connected. That makes sense." Like they are. So we're trying to roll all these disconnected dots into a format to see if you can also see the same connection we're seeing. So welcome back after the break for the second hour right here, Civilization Cycle podcast. We're back in 2 and 2, and thanks for your patronage. We approve of all these products. Hey everyone, are you ready to grow your own fresh, delicious vegetables, herbs, and flowers this season? If you're looking for the highest quality heirloom and organic seeds, I've got the perfect company for you, True Leaf Market. They've been a trusted seed company since 1974, offering 3,000 types of non-GMO varieties, everything from classic heirloom tomatoes and peppers to rare herbs, microgreens, sprouting seeds, and beautiful flowers. All those seeds are open pollinated, pure, and perfect for home gardeners or anyone wanting healthy, flavorful produce without chemicals. What I love the most is their huge selection, fast shipping guarantees, plus options for bulk if you're going big. If you're excited to start your garden this year with real, authentic heirloom and organic seeds, click the link in the description box below to check out TrueLeafMarket.com. You won't regret it. Happy planting, and thank you for supporting the channel and this broadcast. Product you love, the 72-hour emergency food kit from My Patriot Supply. Not only emergency food, but camping food, and you can prepare that through the week as well. 20 delicious just add water meals. Think about creamy mac and cheese, hearty chili, sweet oatmeal. 2,000 calories a day. You need the calories. You're going to need to think and move. And the mashed potatoes, easier to make than oats, and you can add your own flavors. Goes with anything. For less than a couple of takeout meals at a fast food restaurant, get real peace of mind. And a real question to ask, how long could your family eat without leaving home? My Patriot Supply, click on that link in the description box below. It helps the channel. Truth is hard to say and hard to hear. Most people choose silence. We choose to speak. Your support of our sponsor keeps the Civilization Cycle podcast on air and giving us the courage to keep digging. That link's in the description box below. This is not a toothpaste. It's a revolution for your teeth. Remineralize, strengthen teeth, all natural ingredients, essential oils, minerals, salts, Alpha Vedic Dental Solutions System. That's alphavedic.com/civilization. You know, we're always trying to bring you the best products here that we think will enhance your life, especially if supply chains break down further or if there's some disruption in our lives here. It seems in the news. more and more possible, but hey, who knows? Maybe it's a mind game. But what is not is keeping your dental health up. And not a lot of people are talking about this. We always see the storable foods. But what about dental care during these same emergency situations? Will your toothpaste eventually run out? Well, if it does, then what? So like I say, this whole micro gut biome is driven by your oral cavity first. So take a look at what they have, alphavedic.com/civilization. Every purchase you make helps keep our live radio show and podcast on air, bringing you more information just like this. alphavedic.com/civilization. That link is in the show notes below. And as always, I appreciate your valuable time and joining us in this ever and most important conversation as we move forward in our world.
Please remember to sign up for our show notes. With Civilization Cycle Podcast, you can learn what to expect as society resets. Agriculture, economy, tech, and history all have mappable cycles, and these cycles affect every aspect of our lives. We can navigate the chaos and thrive together with up-to-date news and information. Also, if you like the content we have here on Civilization Cycle, think about fueling the discussions and the show by buying us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Civilization Cycle. And thank you for all the support.
And welcome back for the second hour of the Civilization Cycle podcast. First hour, trying to connect some dots into what we see moving through. This week has kind of been a blank out. It's almost like there was no news, but there was news. And my whole news feed was focused on all of the insane wind and hail going on in the southern hemisphere as they're going into winter. Up here in the northern hemisphere, record snowfalls. Japan, 200-year snowfall is 240 years gone. Russia, 200-year snow record is actually 203 years smashed. France smashing all the records. They got 9 foot in a single storm. Then we have these blizzards here that hadn't been seen. It was snow depths breaking all the records in the Northeast. So what we're seeing is snow right now is going to transition into hail and wind in the wintertime. So think about how much snow there is, like way above normal. So think about that in the skies too, different wind patterns, stronger velocity winds to keep, with those updrafts going to form that hail. So think about, instead of a snowstorm, think about these hailstorms. Size is going to get bigger. The amount of pebbles is going to get bigger that are landing on the ground. It's going to be much more intense. So if they're getting a bunch of hailstorms and tornadoes going into winter in the southern hemisphere, they're supposed to have that in the spring like we do, not in the winter, or in the fall and heading into winter, just like we're not supposed to either. You get a thunderstorm in the middle of winter, you're like, oh, that's a bit strange. In the fall, imagine getting roaring thunderstorms coming through in October. Now, April, May is much more the time. So it's happening everywhere. And let's jump over to buymeacoffee.com/civilization cycle. Someone bought 3 espressos. Thank you very much. And says, thank you for the conversation. BB. Well, we're trying to put everything together here. Thanks for all you do, Ransom and David. David Campbell, thank you. 5 double espressos. Oh, I'll be shaking into the night. I do need to get some more work done after this. Another 3 double espresso. Thank you, BB. Fruit tree pruning and dormant oil application wearing short sleeves this week. Zone 6. Weather is changing. Agreed. Down here in East Tennessee, it's supposed to be 70 degrees and sunny for the next 4 days. So that's why I pruned the day before. It was supposed to rain today. Get a little extra moisture into those branch tips, and then it's going to dry out for 4 days. And most of them were still dormant. The only ones that had any sort of leaf poke through were the plum trees. Everything else was still dormant, including the grapevines, the pear trees, apple trees, persimmon trees, elderberry bushes, the mulberry, all still dormant, and the peaches dormant. The only one that fired off was the plums this early, and I'm super they have so many blooms on them, but it's going to freeze again. So talking about that, Ransom, welcome back. And thank everybody who's supporting us at buymeacoffee.com. And please remember, the show notes, absolutely free. And check it out. We try to put a image of the week. The image I included in this week's was the corn to wheat, it was the wheat to gold ratio. How many bushels of wheat could you get for a single ounce of gold? And it went back to 1790, this chart. And back in the day, it would be, say 10 or 20 bushels of wheat for an ounce of gold. And then through the wars, it got down to like 8 to 1. But at other times, it had been 50, 70. So the average is somewhere around 200 right now. After the Green Revolutions of the 1960s, we sit at 1,300 right now. It is so far off the norm. And that's the chart that I'd put up like, whoa, this is incredible. It's so far out of the norms that people are getting used to these prices. If those were to correct in any way, shape, or form, or the gold and the wheat price come back to parity at around, I'll be generous and say 300, it's got to subtract down to 3x. Meaning your food price is going up 3x as the gold price kind of stabilizes again over that. We're talking about from 1790. So that was the chart that I put in there into the show notes for tonight, as well as some thoughts about money moving forward. We talked about Canton Network last week, and I got a new one for you here. Midnight, the second rail of the new settlement and clearance layer for institutions. And also, when we're doing this, we're going to do some iconography. Again, like we did last week, Ransom, I'd love you to look at the imagery, the sacred geometry, the different types of symbolism within these websites to show you. And you can see it for yourself so clear once it's pointed out. But Ransom, thanks for having me start off the second hour. Take it away, my friend.
Looks like those prices are going up there. You know, I watched that State of the Union address, and man, that was fancy. It just too bad it probably wasn't totally legit. Trump said beef, egg, and chicken prices are all falling, but really, as far as I know, and according to this article, also maybe eggs have gone down a little bit, but beef and chicken and other things like that are rising. And when you start talking about, the economy, I just showed he says the economy's the greatest, but we're in the biggest deficit since World War II. So it all depends on how you look at things, on whether they're good. Okay, the gas prices are down, so I might have to spend more for my beef or chicken burrito, but I can go travel further on that, because the gas is down. So it all depends on how you look at it. The problem is how long will it even be stable? Because all of these prices going up and down are when we're relatively stable. And we're always talking about what happens if all of a sudden we're not stable. And I've been looking into this, AI thing and trying to, look at it from a different angle than I usually look at it. I kind of have a sinister view of it, but at the same time, it's a great tool. It's very, good for people with big imaginations or problem solving. But I'm sure you heard that the government is about to hand over a lot of its autonomy in processing power and research power over to one of the Groks. I forget which model it is. But what's scary about that is that people in the industry are losing their minds. And the reason for that is the exponential rate of the increased quality of the AI. Unfortunately for you and the public, you're only going to get the AI slop, the not so accurate chat GPT. If you're on there, it's completely biased in one direction, will give you false history, everything, because it prioritizes being woke first. So you have some other options, but even they get stuff really wrong, and you have to argue with it and show it peer-reviewed papers to change its mind. And then even if you change its mind, it just resets back to its original programming and opinions about things for the next user that comes and asks the same question. So
It'll drive the human crazy, man. The machines are driving the humans crazy.
Right. No, I was going to show you.
Can I throw up this slide for us real quick here? This is the chart I was referencing that I put in the show notes earlier, because I think some of these charts are super incredibly important. Like once you understand that this is the determinant on your food price, and if they come back anywhere in the normals that they always are over the last, say, 300 years, this is just a very strange time in history. If they were to come back to their 200-year average, your food prices are doubling and tripling, period. So you can look at this far left of the chart is 1790. But notice inside here, they show there's peaks also at every 42 to 44 years. So what that means is you could buy the most wheat you could buy with the gold at that peak. And then subsequently, things start to always trend back down toward the norms again. Now, apparently we've peaked in 2024, 25 now. Gold prices are still hovering at that $5,000 range. So where does it take us from here? But generally, something comes back. So if we're hyperinflating away the money, then what happens with this? If the actual production of the wheat, because it's so dry already in the Midwest grow belt, I'm telling you, this year they might be talking about Dust Bowl stuff again there. That's why I wanted to go over the Michigan water, or not Michigan, excuse me, but the Mississippi River water gauges here, because a lot of people are writing me, going, dude, there's such a drought, the barges aren't going to get through. And I'm like, wait a minute. I checked all the river gauges today and everything. There's a couple places it's low, but like no crazy. But imagine if it does go to Dust Bowl 1930s type of thing, what that would do for the price, because we wouldn't hit the wheat and hit the soy and that sort of thing this year. But notice one thing on the chart, Ransom. What do you see with me here? Volcanic eruptions and wars are the two things that knock this chart completely back down into, damn, that got expensive.
Right.
So now this chart extends up, and we are at 1,300 bushels of wheat in 2026 for this, because the price has more than doubled for the price of gold. I think this was around 1,700, 1,600 USD when the price of gold was taken on this chart. So you got to think we're at 5,000 now. So the amount of bushels of wheat is up around 1,300. Now, if you just look at this thing, look at the spike in World War I, World War II. We come into the Green Revolution in the 1960s, and you can really see that like very steep climb up, because the productivity increases from the yields from the nitrogenous fertilizers allowed us to produce wheat far cheaper than we ever have in human history, pretty much. But at some point, like this chart disconnects and it'll be its own set of variables. Like that from 1790 all the way to 1960, because we didn't have the Green Revolution, was always set as such, because that was their baseline of yields on planted acres. Like that whole time up in the nice. Notice how the chart's pretty smoothly the same there. But it disconnects. And when you really have to chop the chart at 1960 and then have that upward trend as its own set. Now, if we do anything like we did in 1980, where it gets really like inflationary, that's going to pull back down some 10, 20%, meaning your food's going to be going up in price. So you can see we're on a disconnect. Take that and move it forward. So you got two charts here that you're looking at, because you can't even compare these. Not an apple to apple. It's not. We didn't have nitrogen, like the crazy fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, fungicides that we apply to the fields. We didn't have that back in 1938 and 1895. We didn't have that. They just plowed, and what they got with the rudimentary machines and animals and all these things they were using at that time cannot even remotely be compared to even what one tractor can do from today, let alone using all the inputs to try to improve yields. That's not even compared. So what happens if it drops back down like in 1980? Ransom, what do you think? Give me the low point from 1980 down to where the middle of the moon is there, probably like 1990. What's the drop percentage, do you think, of the amount of wheat? Okay, yeah, 1995, no, the year 2000. 1980 to the year 2000, what do you think the percentage drop was there, or the number of bushels? For me, it kind of looks around maybe like 170 bushels or something, and it looks like it drops down to around 100 there, something like that.
I believe that is about at the six. Let me see and move my mouse. Yeah, it's right above where it says 63 right there for the 90s. But if you go a little bit past that, you can see 2001 dip. And then right after that, you can see the Iraq War, where we went way up for another peak, and then 2008 right there, it took us back down to 2001, and it's been steadily climbing and dropping back and forth. But then you see that big dip again right there. What is that, 2020? Yeah, that's about 2020, because the end is 2030.
Yeah, so where does it come from here? Because every time these drop, the prices. Well, what it does signal also is economic activity has crashed out as well. When these prices are crashing, that's economic activity crashing. So the gold starts to pull its value back in when economic activity crashes, because there's no liquidity out there, and that's all fake paper junk anyway. Metal is the true. Yeah, it's all fake paper junk. Are you serious? Against like real gold that's been used for 7,000 years, compared to something that is fictitious and on a computer screen? Really? It baffles me that people would think they're different, really. But in the true ultimate value of the in-hand gold is the only thing that really would be left, or silver, if you're still trading that.
Right. Yeah, that really trips me out.
I got a couple more for you here, but that is what I'm talking about. Are people ready for that reduction and back to The productivity, and what food comes smashing down and your food price doubles just because of this, but it wouldn't be just because of wheat. That's the whole scary thing is this chart pegs pretty much across like the soybeans and the corn as well. So if you're looking at that and you're saying, well, all the grains do pretty much the same thing compared to wheat on the bushels over time, over going back 300 years. Now, if you're in Europe, you can get barley, that sort of thing, metrics that we can't get here. So
Yeah,
take it for what
they want to put us right below that 200 ppm right there. That's the number that they want. If you just compare the crop right there at 100 and then 200 and then over there at 400 where we're at today, and then imagine what it was like in some of the real periods of warmth on Earth that had a bunch of CO2, like, I don't know, the
800 parts per
Cretaceous
million,
and things
yeah.
like that. We talk a lot.
But look how much more abundant the vegetation was. So anybody who had a garden would barely just like throw a seed and it would
Right.
grow.
Especially at 800.
And that's yeah, the 800. But the thing about greenhouses is they push it to 1200 for strawberries. So just anybody with an FYI that I love CO2. I love CO2. They're yeah, I know, right? They're in a commercial greenhouse where they're growing strawberries, and this is specific to that plant species, strawberries. They jack in 1200 parts per million to make the strawberries bloom and have larger fruit
Right.
and grow faster. The leaf canopy thickens and the strawberries get incredibly large, but they actually buy commercial CO2 in bottles to pump into their
Right.
greenhouses.
Well,
If you can believe that. And this whole war on CO2, and they're buying bottles to push in so you can get your strawberries at Whole Foods Organic, you lovelies.
right. And you can see that it's pretty obvious that CO2 is the energy driver for plants. So you get more energy in the form of CO2, you obviously get more product. Less CO2, you get less
Yeah,
product.
for free from nature. Hard to tax nature. It's hard to tax your garden, Imagine if we, as just everybody living in America, if it was so productive that you just literally threw in it and it was like really 5 times easier to grow food than it is today, you would not need supermarkets. Like the supermarket revenue would probably drop 30% or more because people just would not need to get any veg at all from the sewer, nothing, zero. So imagine what your expenditure is or you're purchasing for a week or a month for veg alone, just veg.
Right. You
Yeah.
know,
And that got totally subtracted out of the entire corporate system. Nothing. Zero.
even
Like
with all that, it
do
it
it.
depends on what government's doing. I got into this argument with a Cuban the other day where he was talking about that it's the United States embargoes and rules is the reason that no one has any food in Cuba. And I was like, well, why can't you grow? Oh, well, we don't have gasoline and pesticides and herbicides and, all that. And I'm like, you guys live in an area that with a lot of rain, super rich, fertile soil, some of the best soil anywhere in Cuba. So it's not us that's stopping them from growing food there in agriculture. Obviously, they could do it without us on the island. But it's very funny because I had to point out to the guy that I live in the middle of the Chihuahuan Desert with very little water, and I can produce food right here without trying that hard. Literally call it a minimal effort garden because I don't want to be out there all day micromanaging it. And we got so much excess food, we let some waste. I'm kind of ashamed of it, but we didn't, store enough of it first, and a lot of it went bad. Finally, we're coming on the end of the winter, but this is stuff I grew in the spring from last year.
It's all going to come down to what you can purchase with the food for the tradable that you have. Now, your tradable that we use today, you have tradables. It's called dollars. A tradable is a tradable. You're exchanging dollars, which is somebody says, I will trade you for that. Absolutely. It's worth this much unequivocally. $5, $5, $10, whatever. It's an agreed exchange on a tangible thing. What if that moves from paper into some sort of metals? What if it moves into wheat? Wheat, the salt thing about salt, worth his weight in salt, something like that. That comes from when they actually paid people salt.
Right.
Because salt had the same equivalent ratio value and worth of an ounce of gold or shot or grams or whatever you like to do the measurement, TLs. There's all kinds of these different measurements that we, like the 2 gram, the 7 gram, the 8 gram. We don't do that in America, right? It's quarter ounce, 10th ounce, that sort of thing. But back in the past, you could actually take salt. It was so valuable at that point that you could trade that for the same equivalent amount of gold. So worth is salt. There's a thing that person, has the value because of the equivalency of salt to gold ratio being 1 to 1. That had a big meaning to it.
Right.
I was going somewhere with that, but I kind of spaced it. So, as always, getting late in the
Right.
night.
Well, I wanted to run down some ideas with
Blood Moon
about
3-3,
that.
yeah.
It, here, let me get rid of that off my face real quick.
So what if it's 332026 and you could take out the twos in numerology, so it'd be 336. So this is a very important day numerologically for all the occultists as well. They're getting into their numerology on this night. Blood Moon 3-3. Are you kidding me? It's a 33 night. Oh my gosh, like put that together.
Well, not only that, if you remember back in 2003, on March 3rd,
I don't. It was too far back.
2003, March 3rd, we invaded Iraq. In the month of March,
No, shit, they're
war.
building up over there too. Damn it, man. Are you serious?
I have no idea. Well, we won't know until we wake up because those are the way that they do stuff.
No, that's an occultist day. The 3-3 is an occultist high day.
Well,
and a blood
when you
moon.
really get into that, it was some weird stuff, and we've talked about that before. You got Saddam Hussein claiming he's the reincarnation of Nebuchadnezzar, and they're digging stuff out of the desert. They getting 200, 300,000 they haven't translated them yet. They're untranslated things, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere,
text.
George Bush decides, you know what? We got to get in there in the month of Mars, the war god, right? Because he's the war god on March 3rd, which is, like you said, 3-3. It's 33. It's a blood moon now on this time. So you could take that how you want it. But I did kind of want to run.
Yo, slow down. You're getting me nervous, you conspiracy theorist.
Well, it's just patterns, right?
Pattern. Yeah, pattern recognition. It's implementation of the pattern recognition. That's where a lot of people are missing it.
Right. So we're about to enter this age of things you've never seen before because even, Trump bragged the other day about the operation that they did, at the, he forgot it, State of the Union address. And he kind of bragged that, this was such a great op. But what he didn't tell you is that a big portion of that op was done by AI, and we're not the only country playing with that. So look at this right here. China takes steps toward Starlink killer, could be game changer in Ukraine. So this may change the whole, theater of war there. And then you got Iran to buy Chinese supersonic anti-ship missiles as all these U.S. carriers are, hovering around there. But it's okay because Trump said, we don't want to attack first. We want to let Israel attack first because that's better for the headlines for whatever reason. You probably know. But Ukraine escalated the war the other day. I don't know how many people that didn't notice that Ukraine has now attacked 2 European nations, 2 different ones, whenever they destroyed this pipeline of oil from Russia. So this is yet another escalation in world conflict right here, destroying this oil pipeline here. But what's so bizarre about it is Hungary and Slovakia are supposed to be on this side of the Western world and an ally, sort of, but yet you have...
No, wait a second. Hold on, man. Hold on.
No, I mean, in the general sense of things. In the general sense of things of NATO and whatnot. So you got Hungary and Slovakia. They basically got attacked by Ukraine, but it keeps going. Revelations are coming out.
Let me comment to that, Ransom. I got to step in right there. Can you please rewind that? Because Orban over in Hungary was already contentious as hell anyway, because he didn't want to let any of the refugees in, just didn't want to let anything. It was like Hungarians first. Like we got, the MAGA movement here, Make America First, great again, America First, all that stuff. Well, over there, they had Hungary first. Right. And the leaders in the elections actually were ahead by like 30 points. They were going to lose, so they disqualified them. And then the ones that did win, just somehow because it flipped, they were all disqualified. And then, like the nullification of a full election in Hungary because they went super far, like we're going to protect our country. And then we're supposed to be like, well, they're bastions of freedom. They're all super democratic countries in the EU. And then you overthrew their elections completely because the guy didn't want to deal with your bullshit. Right. It was like, no more refugees, man. This is overwhelming our system. It's insane, man. We can't even take everybody in.
Well, they did take in some refugees, but only from one specific nation.
Which was?
Ukraine.
Ukraine. No kidding.
So now,
It's the
and
back door.
if you really get what the guy from Hungary was talking about, is that he didn't want backdoor soldiers coming into their country because they've seen it before. So is Poland. Why do you think Poland's so strict about immigration? It's because they've been done that way before, where people came in, snuck armies into their area that they thought they were safe in because they let people in. Hungary didn't want to do that. And if you remember in the 90s, our country kind of helped some Muslim people into some of those countries there. And then all of a sudden, all this ethnic cleansing started happening, and we had to start bombing places like Kosovo. And, we've already seen what's going on there. And if you remember a few years back, all of our news media reported that Russia invaded Georgia. Remember? And then the Georgian
Yeah.
president was on TV saying, "Oh, they invaded us." And then the refugees get on TV and they get a chance to talk, and they said, "No, no, no. That was Georgian forces shooting us. The Russians came in and stopped it from happening." So we have no idea what's going on in these little shatter belt areas with these kind of things. But kind of to move on from that, while everybody else
Well,
over
let
here
me
is getting.
let me throw something at you then here. Wait a second. I had my slide open. Oh, sheesh, man. I can't stop me on the keyboard, dude. Oh, here it is. No, forget it. I can't even remember what I was going to talk about. The Republic of Georgia, like I was trying to get out a topo map here so you could take a look at, here, this one might work, where Russia invaded in the first time and what they took over here. Because one of my safe spots to go to in this Grand Solar Minimum was the Republic of Georgia, because they had continuous, nonstop grape growing for over 8,000 years. And with that being said, if you have cultivation of grapes, they're very finicky. The vines are finicky. They need proper pH, proper soil, proper moisture, proper fog, proper everything, or else they don't grow. So a place that has 8,000 years of continuous wine and vineyard production has to be like a sweet spot, because what you see on the left there is the Black Sea, and then over to the right there past Azerbaijan, there's another sea sitting over there as well. So it's between Caspian Sea on the east and Black Sea on the west, right? So it's in this sweet zone between two inland seas. And it must have been for a while, because 8,000 years of continuous production, like Mount Ararat, if you look down where it says 45 degrees east, and then there's like a zero there. If you come up, that's Mount Ararat coming a little bit further south off the chart there. So they were thinking that Noah's Ark had landed here. This was the first emergence of people, and since they knew already vineyard cultivation, etc., they set up there first. And this is where this grape production has spread from. This is very same area, like 45 east on that. Just draw that line down to where the lake is.
Right.
Yeah, and that's it. And then, so what I wanted to point to, if you look at 44 east and you go up all the way to where that red line is, that red line is the border from Republic of Georgia up into Russia. And that big area, that chunk of yellow, which is the mountains, the highlands going down into the valleys, flatlands there, into the farm country, that's what Russia took. So there's a port there too. There's a river that comes in, and there's a river port that used to come in all the way into the center right there. See if my mouse right here. Yeah, see this river that came in? It came all the way into here. They had river ports way up in here. And Russia took that, and they also took this area here. This always used to be Republic of Georgia as well. That red line, like Russia grabbed all this land here from along the Black Sea. And again, this is productive farmland. You see how flat it is coming out. You get a lot of drainage coming off there, a lot of nutrients coming back in the fields, micromineralization, that sort of thing. That's what they were looking for, and like trying to get these areas specifically right here, because all the outflow from these mountains with the rains brought natural minerals down. Like your plants need, yeah, they need some fertilizers, but they need minerals way, 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 way more than they need vitamins. Human bodies as well. So when you're looking at this, like all that huge amount of farmland, look how many hundreds of thousands of acres of that farmland there is right there, like productive land. All in here, this is all farmland in Georgia. Way over here, this is farmland in Georgia. Over to the east, around 46 east, coming down out of this is a huge farming area, and they do like vineyards all up in here in the mountains. You can go trekking along this whole area here. But when you look at Georgia itself, you really should consider taking a trip over to this place. I've been wanting to go forever. Haven't been there. I'm going to go to the Bosnian pyramids when I go here. So Those two things should coincide. Bosnian pyramids and Republic of Georgia trip.
Well, that too, and that country's not very old. It's only since 1991.
Mm. Again,
there was no.
localization. What think about Czechoslovakia at the time too?
Yeah, all of those breakaways, and they know that younger people don't remember that some of these countries didn't even exist at the 1900s. They didn't even exist. They belonged to the Persians, and then later to the Russians, and then now that it's broke away, did you really think Russia was going to lose resources that it had for forever? I don't think so.
The Ottomans? Are you kidding me? Surely you jest.
Right. And then you got this is kind of where I was going with this. While they're deciding who owns what resources and land out there, all the different world powers at each other's throats, you got stuff like this leaking through. Peter Thiel and other billionaires, just like the founder of Apple, Steve Jobs, doesn't let their kids mess around with any of the products that they make. And they give a really good reason, because there's a scientific reason that they know about. And it's something that I previously referred to my channel and on this channel as the TikTok effect. So it's literally a psychological program that kills long-term attention span in children right off the bat, because it rewires their brain into what I dubbed as the TikTok effect, which is basically where people can only pay attention to things between 1 and 3 minutes. And that's like a goldfish. It's the goldfish idea, 90 seconds of attention span. And they're talking about, on average, children in the U.S. spend 8 to 18 hours or 7.5 hours per day watching or using screens, according to the Academy of Child Adolescence, whatever. But what they discovered is that all of these things that they're watching are 15 minutes or under are killing their attention span. So a kid can't even pay attention to the same idea for longer than 15 minutes according to their studies. But I think it's way worse than that. It's more like 3 minutes. It's the standard short. Seconds. Yeah, it's these little things on like YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. The really, really short adrenaline hit, casino style, dopamine hits there. And then over here, this is about the best AI scenario.
Wait, Ransom, can I stop
everything? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this blends in. Can I throw this article before you throw that one? Because it's going to make a perfect stream right here. Let me show you this one here. Now, we've all heard about Bill Gates buying farmland. We've heard about that. We kept thinking, well, this dude's going to take the food supply off. He's going to do some kind of genetic freaking Stein, some sort of genetic Frankensteins or something. No, it's very simple. It's just like so simple. He's just buying the farmland because you get the water rights. He's going to just cover our farmland with these data centers that have their own water rights included within those states and those vast areas. Because what's the number one thing that data center need that costs them the most money? Purchase of the land and all the farms around it, and the people won't sell, and nails there that they don't want to sell. We got the last 2 nails. They're asking for 5 times, 10 times price. The other guys, like, they just won't sell, but we can't build because we don't have that like huge area that they need. So Gates owns all this farmland. He like pre-planned buying 50,000 acres in a square, literally, because they're going to plop a data center right there. And at the same time, when you own the farmland, you get the water rights with it. But, we buy it by what, the gallon or something when it comes through your tap and your meter here on the month. They buy it by the acre foot, which is 1 acre, 1 foot deep. That counts as an acre foot. Acre foot, you're like talking about 48,000 feet by 48,000 feet and a foot deep. And that's 1 acre foot. So they're selling that to the data centers and pulling from the aquifers and just unrestricted access and drilling. And these guys got like so much money that they vertically owned the drilling companies, and they bought out all these drilling companies to go in to punch down that they own them so they can write them off all on expenditures, right? So they're punching down like needle hole, like a sewing machine, like doom, 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 into our aquifers to pull that much faster out. 1 well can pull so much, 2 wells can pull twice as much. 3,000 wells can pull 3,000 times as much water to circulate through the largest data centers to keep them as cool as they need to be. These myths of things you're hearing about, these recirculating systems and everything, It's just far cheaper now to drill it up and pump it back down in, because for them it's a net zero equal. Hey, we use this much, hasn't been really contaminated. We just like ran it through pipes to make sure our machines are cool, and we just put it back down in the ground again. Well, I'm wondering what the corrosion is off the pipes, what time of metal, what time of alloys. They're like, we're just pumping it up, literally, man, just for a few seconds. We're running through all these different pipes, just cooling it. We're just using the cool from the water, and we're going to run it and so it's almost like a gravitational vortex power system where you have a concrete bin where it spins like the bathtub at the very last after you pull the plug out, spinning. You put a turbine in that, but you can regulate like a 4 foot across, 6 foot diameter, something like that, 6 foot across. And then you put rotors in there, and the water just continually spins because it's just acting like a bathtub as it's spinning. You just recreated that perfect vortex area, and then you plunk a rotor in it, and it's a lot of heaviness, a lot of torque. You can get a huge amount of power because you could put thick blades, seriously geared machinery on it, and just like harvest that off with the different type of electrical. I wouldn't even say alternator. People using, whatever you want to use for that to pull it off. I was going somewhere. Oh, and this right here, the amount of water that is going to be used for these data centers. See, the acreage that this dude bought gives him the right to all of our water, literally our water, which is a scary thing.
Right.
Well, he's not bought farmland. He's bought land that is designated as farms, knowing it was a large enough space that they could put a new data center out there. In addition, when he bought this, he used lawyers to argue the highest property per square foot or per square acre water usage rights for this area. So if normally it was like, let's say 1 acre foot per acre to make it even, they would have lobbied and said, we need 3 acre feet for this one, or 50 acre feet or whatever per this one, but you got 50,000 of those ones. So you're literally getting, 10, 1, 10, allegedly 1, 10, 20, 50 times more based on the individual applications to increase the water allotment from the acre foot to that square acre to grow supposedly, allegedly, other crops. So it is literally unlimited pull from where these farmland areas are already zoned out with the exact specifications for the amount for the square to put a data center on it.
Right.
Predetermined with those applications to increase water usage for the allowance to increase per acre foot would then satisfy the first several years of those data centers already in advance by the acre feet they can pull out above ground water coming through on the rivers when it's snow melt, and also what they can punch through in wells like a sewing machine and draw out of there. So their lobbying is just sickeningly incredible, where they can get, just like with a single application, like 3 to 5 times more than local farmers who've been there for 100 years. Because the local farmer that's been there for 100 years can't afford to drill a $70,000 well because it's lower, or $80,000, $100,000 well. Those guys can indefinitely. Every well, I don't care how deep you need to go, man. You need to go 1,000 feet below every neighbor out here, and we're going to pull from those wells. They're going to dry out as all this water comes in because they're not that deep. But these firms allegedly can drill far, 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 far deeper than any other, because they know the depths of the wells already. They know the boreholes, where they're coming from. They know exactly how deep everything is placed across this area. And allegedly, they go 2 to 3 times deeper in their first drills to see what they can access and how deep those water tables go. Because they're going to the very bottom. If the bottom of the aquifer is down here, their heads are resting on the bottom of the aquifer, down into some sort of like slit plate. That's a gradual rise. So they can suck everything out of it. It's not like a pipe where it just comes up. Allegedly, these are the things that are happening where those farmlands are controlled by gates. So the amount of water available for us, because we're using the same tributaries and drainage basins that this is coming from for us in our cities. And here it is going to pre-planned power. And I'm wondering, who gave all the authorization, and these people are taking the application, just like rubber stamping them. Yeah. 10 times, 20 times, 30 times more water usage than the farmers. Yeah, you can go as deep as you want. It doesn't work without all those people in play, approving everything across the board from start to finish to like completely bankrupt every farmer out there. Take all their water for their cattle, completely take everything for natural, irrigation that would be going around in circular irrigation. I mean, take everything away because they can't go that deep in the water table. Sick, it's this is a non-human move here. You talk about Gates being non-human and things. Allegedly, I've just heard some things. Allegedly, this is, but just on a spiritual sense, like me and you talking here, is that even human? Could you really hurt other people that badly? Then you feel that that's okay to do that? Like,
Sociopath.
would you do that? How can you? Even for me, like I can't do that to another human being. Maybe that's my fault. Maybe I'm too kind. Maybe I'm a schmuck because I can't hurt people that badly. But this is their modus operandi. They do this again and again and again, purchasing these farmlands, going in, getting the water rights, getting everything before it comes back down, takes the water away from our farmers, from all those people that are already in drought along our grow belts. And then when you come into the city, why do your water bill like 50% more expensive or 100% more expensive over the last 4 or 5 years? Because of all of this shenanigans that's going on. And it's rubber stamped along the way, and you're putting all these people out of business. It's really hurtful, man, to even think about looking at this chart in that way, where that entity, that frequency that says that's okay to do it to other people, like that's not a kind frequency, and it's not welcome on this planet. And I'm saying as we vibrationally, move up in the yuga cycle here, every day we get vibrationally lighter. Those influences of that existing here, we're actually literally stepping above it, like you're walking out of a fog cloud. And that's where that energy will sit. And we're exiting as the human race. And that frequency of people and that energy of those who will harm anything at any cost for their thing at that time, that is going to be a thing of the past, luckily. We just have, and you have the power to walk through that fog and exit out of that. But please understand what this map entails here. The complete capture of almost all large, abundant farmland with water rights to put data centers on it. So every green you see here is not going to be like one data center. It's going to be multiples. Because look at that. Just say Arizona, because, let's say, okay, let's go down to 1 acre in New Mexico, but let's go to Arizona. Dude owns 25,000 acres. Like, how much does it take to put a data center on 500? I'll give you 1,000 acres, 10,000 acres. Could put 2 data centers out there. That's 2 more than are ever needed in the amount of draw and everything, electricity, and it's just I don't know what to say.
Well, you got to keep in mind too that
you've been talking too long, man. Let me go.
Well, I was going to say, you got to keep in mind this map only represents one guy and one faction doing this. $400 billion. $400 billion just got given via Operation Stargate to build data centers all through everywhere. And I know for a fact that at least $8 billion is being used right here, right over in Las Cruces and next to El Paso. And there's 2 reasons for that. You have access to the Rio Grande, and 2, you have access to the artesian wells that you were talking about right there. So there's billions of dollars in this, and that's exactly kind of where I was going with what I was saying right there. So
40 billion.
40 billion.
That's like the GDP of small countries.
Right. Even the best AI scenario is the end of everything that we've been.
And explain that to me. I saw that article and I didn't have enough time to read it. Can you give me like the too long don't read cliff notes on it?
Right. So imagine it's 2027, a new country appears overnight, 50 million citizens. Every one of them smarter than you are, smarter than a Nobel Prize winner who has ever lived. They think 10 to 100 or even, I'm going to say, 1,000 times faster than a human. They never sleep, and they can use the internet. They can control robots. They can direct experiments. They can operate anything with a digital interface, which includes the next generation of human beings via peripheral and the Internet of Things merged with the medical industry, and the technological industry is going to merge. So that he's even saying that's not far off with ample evidence. They explain how details regarding how just pervasive and powerful AI entities will become. But even scratch that. Don't even, think about that. A country it's the future of competition for not only humans, corporations, and countries. Whoever has the data processing power owns the future. And not just that, it's getting really crazy. Look, three top AI models simulated war games recommended using nukes 95% of the time to win the conflict. Now, if you keep this in mind and what I said earlier about how we're about to give a big portion of the military autonomy over to AI, then you'll understand exactly what's happening here. The entire transition of our control in the human domain, as far as it is as a citizen, through a government to control the outcome of your future, is disappearing and evaporating all around you. It's almost gone. And then we can throw stuff in there that kind of correlates. Is some of these things that we have that our children are suffering for preventable? Well, when you go back to that article I was just talking about, how all the tech billionaires do not and will not let their children use any of the programs or technologies that they're using, including and not limited to probably interfaces through peripherals, implants, and other, you'll get that two species are separating. They don't want us to have access to the technology too, because the same technology that keeps them in complete control of the human domain also is a liberation tool for the common everyday man if they're allowed to do it. That's why countries around the world are scrambling as fast as they can to put rules and regulations on the common citizen. And it'll be just like anything else, like insider trading or any topic that you can pick. It's okay for me, but not for thee. They're going to make laws where you can't use anything. And then you see stuff like this, which we predicted. F-16 pilot narrowly escapes and missile attack, shows risks of new Mideast war, where he talks about flying through there and how many missiles he had to escape and evade to survive. And it was, far more than they were expecting. And then you have to understand that this is all over when you figure out that they're about to replace all these pilots with drones. The entire thing's going to be the excuse to save our people. And you remember, we just had a big thing at the State of the Union address on how our hero Superman pilot got shot 3 times in the leg and still piloted the Chinook down for, this miraculous Jerry Bruckheimer kidnapping of their president and wanted criminal from the United States Justice, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, the guy supposedly did that. But what they failed to mention is how much, like about 80% of the force and the bombings that was happening to distract that country over was AI. That's the way the whole kit and caboodle's going.
Yeah, and that is what happens when it decides that we no longer shall receive food, and the ordering systems under control from AI control every single input, where it moves, what factory. You got to take it back to the factories themselves. They're using AI for ordering. They're down in different, sovereign nations, different countries, into their mines, into their output, into their factory system. They're trying to consolidate things across like 200 different countries into super fine-tuned supply chains that are moving then into, warehouses or consolidators that then move it on to another place, onto another place, and it finally gets here. So think about that interference if AI one day decides, yo, not enough. Yeah, I was just talking about midnight here.
There's your cube and asterisk again right there.
Yeah, it's Cuban house, but here you didn't really. What's interesting is when you go over this, when you bring the blue dot, then it starts to turn into the cubes, right? I saw one view where the cubes were to the side, and I was trying to find that because I knew that you would be super appreciative because we talked about these types of things last time.
Right.
So we're looking at the crew here, who is the brightest minds on the planet to try to. Okay, so what this thing is about is we talked about Canton last time. So let's, I guess, roll through a couple of different. Let's see the ecosystem hub here. This is always okay. So these ZK protocols I talked about last week with the zero knowledge, it's privacy. You just don't know who it is. Again, this thing is only built for institutionals. Right now, you can get it because if you are a holder of this, and by the way, the developer of Cardano is also the developer of this, and they run on the same interoperable Algorand and Midnight or Night. They interoperate on the same blockchain through Cardano. So this is already Cardano's ISO 20022 token, which is only a handful of those, 8, I think, You have to be specific, do your own research on that. But this zero knowledge thing, this is the new that only corporations are moving to it because they don't want you to know on the public blockchain when you pay Sally at work or Johnny at work, like what their salaries are. If you could follow like a stable coin or a government issuance somewhere and it was on a public blockchain, you could see how much they're paying every government employee. They're seeing how much they're paying Sally and Joe. Oh, they're different. Oh. So corporations are looking for privacy. They're not looking for anonymity. That's different. Anonymity is more like Monero and Pirate Chain, super anonymous. Nobody knows anything. You can do, but you can't do that with compliance measures. So the rails on the system here, this is part of the new, like Ransom and I were looking at all these different wild, iconography bits last year or last show. But when we look at the different types of what's the finance right there, it's the pyramid. I mean, what else do you see here, Ransom?
It's the pyramid
That's
scheme.
AI with the eye. I mean, are you kidding me? How much more blatant can half of this stuff be here?
Look, and then you have the governance, which is they got it as a snowflake, but if you realize that that's also the cube shape, that is the cube shape from an angle, and it's the asterisk there, and it shows how it splits out in even geometry and keeps going and going. And what a perfect symbol for governance.
Yeah.
It outstretches and keeps going.
Yeah, and healthcare, consumer social tools, we're back into the circles within circles. So if you're looking at the Yuga cycle, this tools and infrastructure, I think shows us the third time an iteration of the time there's been infrastructure and technology on this planet, but maybe I'm reading too much. It's almost like the I Ching. You know what the I Ching is, where you have the 3-dash line? Mm-hmm. Like there's 4 dashes inside that. There's 1, 2, 3. There's 4 dashes on the outside, 4 dashes on the inside, and just a continuous circle on the interior of that. So if you're looking at some sort of, I Ching is like 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, but this one seems to be in a base 4. So I don't know what kind of interpretation that could be on a base 4 versus a base. But again, come back to the 4 when we were talking about the different calendar. 4 weeks in a 28-day month brings us back to this again.
Right.
Let me pull down here. Let me go back into the ecosystem again. Maybe the developers. No, it's community. I had something better to show you, so hold on. Okay, so we got the globe, obviously, that's intertwining. Looked at this already, so let me go back to the bottom. I found somewhere else. And again, like this thing's interactive here, so when you start moving it around, what do you see? Sort of, let me bring it toward the center. Tell me what's in the center.
That's the whole grid Cartesian map system right there, man.
Yeah, right there. Yeah. So can you see the center point of that thing, at least in our time space, looking directly down that?
Yeah.
So where's this thing focusing us? Because this is a new monetary system and a new rail of payment of all the bigs, every bank, every government, every insurance company. They're all going to use this because if an insurance company is going to pay you out for a damage claim, they're not going to want to let others know how much they paid. So the only way they can do that in the new system that's moving over to stable coins, and I want to say something on 1933 when they forced Americans to turn in their gold. They revalued the gold right away. And, you're forced to turn it at 20, it revalues to 35. You're like, thanks for that. I wonder how many people said, I'll never trust you again. World War II comes along. They formatted the entire, what history was before World War II. And they come out, everybody loves America. Everybody loved America. Everybody Roosevelt. Everybody loved Roosevelt. He's the best things to slice bread. And then suddenly we're into a new system right now, how does that switch from the gold confiscation, the way they're going to do it this time? So the gold confiscation in 33 and what is happening with stable coins right now is exactly the same thing. Like as we move forward into this, you're going to, as soon as this Clarity Act comes out, and I think it's in the beginning of March, it might even come out on March 3rd, like 3/3 again. If you look for the Clarity Act, some sort of thing to come out on the 3rd of March to be passed, because that's an occultist day as well. So any like passage of laws that you're looking for in these occultist days, they're moving it that direction because the power of the law passed on that day in ceremony would be more powerful to get people to comply to it because of the voluntary compliance, the whole karma thing. But if it does come out and Yeah, the stable coins, you're going to be forced to use them, but every stablecoin issuer has to buy the exact same amount of treasuries. So it's a 1-to-1. So let's say Tether, they buy $1 million worth of treasuries. Well, they can mint $1 million worth of stablecoin of USDT, 1-to-1. They need to hold that as some sort of collateral. Although Tether has also taken the step to hoard and buy how many hundreds of tons of gold and stored in Switzerland as also a back-end, which is interesting because U.S. Treasuries is only good enough for a certain level of backing. This is why only some companies are trustable. Only some go with just fiat issued debt issuance as their, you got to, like, I'll say that again. It's fiat issued debt issuance is their collateral as their asset of something that doesn't exist that was created on a computer screen. That's their collateral. It means literally zero, nothing. I mean, the only thing that keeps the US dollar up is a belief in it. As soon as that erodes, then that same system of creating, computer digits is going to be worth nothing because it's worth nothing. People don't believe it anymore. That's where it goes to. But the stable coins, in the future, you're going to be forced through these acts that governments are going to say with regulation with banks that banks have to go to a stable system to track all money, stable coins. Now, these stable coins, you're not going to be able to get any sort of yield off of them because normally you can stake something allegedly. I've just heard this. I've talked to a few crypto bros in Dubai that they're saying they're staking things allegedly that the money they're making is 4 to 5% on just holding cash in it because a lot of them believe that the market's going to go a little lower before it dips higher. So they're all out on cash waiting for the ultimate bottom. But while they're waiting for the ultimate bottom, when they trade like maybe a 4 or 6 month or, twice a year kind of flip on it, they just wait for 1 year, 2, 4 years. Hell, they're on like 4-year charts, allegedly. So I've seen or heard. But they are thinking about stable coins. You're going to be forced to buy them. That is the reset. Because once you are forced to buy the stable coin and the fake US Treasury that's associated with it, what are they really buying? They're forcing the entire public to go buy these fictitious digital things that are supposed to represent 1 = 1 of a US dollar. So the forcing of you having stable coins will allow then Tether to mint that many stable coins, which will completely take our debt to zero, and the US public will be the bag holders with the new stable coins. That's the way it works. And assessing into that, like, really, they're going to do that? They're going to, the same thing with the gold. You're not going to take 100% hit. You'll probably take 90% reduction, a 10-to-1, or like a 9-to-1 reset, 8-to-1 reset. That's what they're looking at, something like this. Not too crazy, like 100-to-1. But the thing that needs to go forward is this right here. They have to have the anonymity to move trillions of dollars across different networks. It can't work without this.
Right.
No, it can't. And I was just chatting too much there, but see, look how this thing, even on the footer down here, this thing moves around. I was trying to get into some of the docs here. So as you go down there, participate. They had one where it was all of the participants. What do we got? Guides. All right, let's see. What do we got for guides here? Get faucet tokens. Set up a Lace wallet. All right, so how do you get free night? Let's set up a faucet token. Oh, here you go. Ransom. That's exactly what I was looking for. Where do you see that, man? What do you see? What do you see?
On the same screen?
Yeah, what do you see there? Because we were talking about different cubes and
You must not have changed it. I'm still looking at the midnight thing.
Oh, no kidding. Okay, hold on a second. Let me share this tab. Excuse me, everybody. Technical difficulty when I was chatting there. But what do you see?
Yeah, you get 3 cubes in an infinity circle.
Do you think they put these signs out just by accident? Because if you go back to the blockchain Cardano, the inventor of that. And I was watching this, I'm trying to watch several hours of his interviews describing what they developed, not other people's on YouTube going, hey, they did this, you get dust, you can stake it, you can get dust, the holders are creating dust. So this is the interesting thing. Like they're not minting anything new that people can use into the protocol. So if I want to send ransom and transaction and I have, I don't know, 1,000, and they're only 5 cents right now, by the way. I'm not financial advice. Please don't listen to people talking something late night. This is not financial advice. Like you on YouTube listening to us talk. That's ridiculous if you'd follow any advice. Come on, man. Stop. But this thing I was looking at earlier was 5 cents. And the faucets that were coming out, and they've given away $1 billion worth of this token. Now, once you have this token, and you could use all these different chains, they were saying, if you have an Ethereum address and you staked it anywhere on a cold wallet, you're getting an airdrop. If you have a Bitcoin address, you're getting an if you got a Solana address, airdrop. If you got whatever, and they listen all the way down, like literally anybody who has a private address anywhere associated with a cold wallet gets an airdrop from this. Thing is, you had to collect it. It didn't automatically go into your wallet.
No.
You had to actually collect it. So coming back, there's been $1 billion plus US out of the 24 billion of this token that have been issued. And they were all in the airdrops. Now, here's the thing. Here's your let's get the delegate dust. So just for you holding this token, they generate something called dust. Now, normally with Ethereum, you have to burn that and you can transfer it. And there's a few things where if you save enough of something in the Solana blockchain, eventually, if you save enough of it, you could do like a spam attack on things. Dust does not accrue after 30 days, it burns itself. But if you are holding this and you can give it and delegate it to somebody else who can use it for transactions, and this is the whole thing, it's only institutional that's using it for transactions only. Now, you can bequeath it to them as an offering, but you can't sell it. They're non-transferable. So there's no way, there's no market for this. It's just like you have this dust that allows somebody or something, some entity to make a transaction more frequently, seamlessly, and free, basically, if they have that amount of dust because you're holding that many tokens on it. Hence, I don't know, it's entered a new world. Again, when I talk about going up to the Sata Yuga, and this is a very like just, I guess, a kindergarten one for one trying to explain this one. So this dust is minted just because you hold the token, and it's used by everybody within the ecosystem to allow transactions to go through. Just because. But at the Sata Yuga, it's the same exact thing. Like this entire ecosystem exists called humanity. But what they do together is just to allow things to be more efficiently without any kind of personal want. It's just the more that it's used, the more that it becomes the standard, the more that it's used, the more that it is. And it's the same thing with the Sata Yuga and the human resonance, talking about, everybody was working in harmony. They could read each other's thoughts. They could see each other's souls, like one soul to it. It didn't matter what color of skin you were. You could see beyond that. It was so far beyond. It was an energetic connection. It was nothing with like we think it's a physical connection every time, which is kind of like low vibration. Think about how fast atoms are spinning and galaxies and all these things, stars, quasar, so many things happening. But it was an energetic connection with that. And that's where it is at the highest levels of manifestation. You don't see them for a person that has been rooted through the news for 50 years that you believe something about this country, that person, that race, that DNA genealogy, that country, that border, that this, that, and the other. It doesn't matter. You are only a human vibrating in a consciousness with another human at the highest state before you exit the body, because you can't vibrate higher and have like molecules stay together. And we just went through the lowest one where you barely can't keep it together because it's moving so slow, like a Danger Will Robinson robot. At the point of that, where you dissolve into like literally granite again at the bottom of the Kali Yuga, which we just exited out of. And, you get both of those things going up at the same time. Dust is the same way, just like it evolves out of people holding it. It's created by people holding it, but it's used for everything but here's the thing. That whole Flow is purely institutional. It is insurance companies paying out your claims. It is companies paying the employees' salaries. It is governments with settlements. It is governments with tariffs. It is governments to another government, all anonymously, not private, anonymously. So the same rails we talked about last week with Canton Coin, this wraps directly into that because there's only, like, say, 8 of these ISO 20022 tokens, and Cardano is one, and it's wrapping in with Midnight, and that wraps back up to Canton Network. So everything we're seeing here is, I don't know. This is, in my opinion, and also, again, it's just conjecture. Don't listen to anybody late night talking about this thing here because I'm just kind of looking at the shapes. Web3 promised freedom, but it's not really. It's about a community that develops something that's usable within the community by just having something for everybody, which is a hard concept to explain, but this is going to be the new model for everything moving forward. You know why? Because the energy frequency is changing on the planet and they can't control it anymore. So think about if you're an old entity trying to grab and control everything, you're going to try to want to go out one step to control it further out as the energy is rising. You're already there. You're trying to capture the next time. I think they only have 1 or 2 capture points left. But this is a capture point here. It's going to, like Canton Network. Love it. I think it's absolutely brilliant the way it was designed, and the designers, absolutely props to you all. That is one of the most genius, unbelievable, seamless, infinite loops of transmitting money that is private for corporations and governments. All debt across the planet, looping through quadrillions of dollars. Insane. How did y'all think of that? Props to you for doing that. I mean, to create something that vast and that interoperable, man, like what are the brain power on that? Gee, they got to have electricity stuck in their brain just 24/7. And then we come to Midnight, which is a protege or an offshoot of that exact same thing. That's what boggles my mind is people talking about all these different things, Bitcoin and this, that, and the other. And one last thing here, Ransom, but the integration of these, what do you see there? Rose Crusarian Cross. You showed me that same thing with the red, but it was a little just, you're going back what, 900 years, 800 years. The way it's sloped out is a little bit different, but it's the exact same cross. Just in that infinite circle times 2. But what's that wand? Like a magic wand? I don't know.
Yeah, you know what's funny about you saying that is they just had that Princeton University thing that was basically saying there's ultra low frequencies that emanate from each human, and that's basically ESP. So that's that, and then it makes you wonder why they were trying to make everybody stand, 6 feet or more apart at a certain time. That they've now proven that not only with the double slot. Or slit, I forget, is it slit or slot? Either way, that we're affecting real matter with nothing but thought, and now they've discovered that we are actually pushing out these ultra low frequencies that amount to an extrasensory perception. But I was going to ask you, David, do you recognize this? You said, I'm pretty sure this is like a zodiac from China. And you can see like a dragon and a snake and stuff. I think you said something about the I Ching a minute ago, and I thought this was related to that. He ran off. All right. Anyway, I was tripping out because I found this basically picture somewhere in China. I've been trying to figure out exactly what this thing is called and where it's at. But ironically, because I have pattern recognition and I can't ignore these symbols, I knew that I had saw this somewhere else before. And then this is back in 2015, actually, when I posted this. Wait, hold on. I can't hear you. Here you are. Do you happen to recognize that? Maybe?
Oh, hold on a second. I was trying to find
Get a
something
full
else.
screen
Here,
for you.
let me look. Yeah. It's a yin yang symbol. And there's the bagua right in there. So you get the series of dashed lines. But usually So that Bagua is a little bit strange because usually they're going to be parallel sets of lines.
Yeah,
Oh,
instead
that
these
is 6 right
spin.
there. So a string of no, they should have 6. So the one at the 3 o'clock position is correct. All the other ones, well, at the say 6 o'clock position with the 3 straights, that's correct also. But they should have symbols of 6. So the one at the 3 o'clock position is correct. The one at the 6 o'clock position is correct, but the other ones are not because they don't contain 6. At least in my recollection of how the Bagua works and how the I Ching, it's always 6. That's the thing.
Right. Well, what was
Unless
weird
you
is that,
count that one straight one as 2 that are connected, but they just did like the artist interpretation of that
right.
long line as 2 of those connected. That could work.
Well, this is weird. Is the only reason that I saved this picture back in 2015 is because I got this weird thing with images that match, and then I found that same thing here. So this was a crop circle from I think 2000, right around there. But if you see the moon and the sun and the yin yang there in the middle,
Yeah.
now trip this. So this is a crop circle about 2000, and this is a rock found at the Roswell crash site. And they can't explain how it's made. It's magnetic. It spins, and they can't figure out how this, reverse carving took place here. I don't know. Just something weird to end the night with, I thought.
Yeah, I wanted to throw some. Oh shit, is it already 12:12? Wow, the time went by so fast.
Right.
Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. Staying for the extra 12 minutes here. Civilization Cycle podcast. Join us over on civilizationcycle.com. Sign up for the absolutely free show notes. We're trying to put some graphs of the week up there with a little bit of commentary and then a few bullet points beyond so you can share with your friends, family, start the conversation, refresh what we talked about. We go run through an enormous amount of information. So
Right.
from the streets of Italy, ransom.
All right. Peace out.